What's going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Raids, and I'm back on the channel bringing some more sync content your way. Now, today's video we're going to be discussing my top 5 in terms of exchange mods that exist in this game, ones that you can actually equip into your loadout as standard, and some that we can actually just get lucky and grab out of the exchange machine. Now, with this list, I'm trying not to go specifically into one particular type of build, like for example, stun is really kind of like meta at the moment, same with knockback, and I'm not trying to go, oh, well, these 4 mods are knockback, therefore these must be the top 4. I'm trying to look at everything objectively. I'm trying to look as to which are a little bit more generic, which ones you can actually kind of take in, and which ones just offer a really nice bonus just by themselves. If you were able to get any of these out of the exchange, you would be very lucky to be able to grab them, because they offer so much to every single type of build, and that's what I'm trying to aim with this video. Of course, if you do enjoy this type of content, then make sure to drop that like and subscribe. Now, I do have a few other video ideas that I'd like to mess about with, but if you're interested in seeing, like, instead of a top 5, maybe even seeing a bottom 5 when it comes to mods, ones that actually do need some looking at when it comes to the devs, and what I would like to do to be able to buff those up so they actually get used, then make sure to leave that as a comment down below so you can let me know that you're interested in that type of thing. But with all that said and done, what are we waiting for? Let's start diving into the list. Alright then, so coming in at that number 5 spot, we're actually going to go with one of the most generic, most useful type of mods that can be used on a variety of builds, and this is actually going to be in the health category, and this is going to be armor transfer. Now, how this one works is that when you break nano armor, you have the ability to fully replenish yours, and if you do get this up to the yellow rarity, not only is it going to give you 100% trigger rate, meaning that you can break the armor on any nano and you instantly refresh all of your ammo, in terms of all your armor, sorry, you also get an additional 100% max armor, so you're doubling up what you're already going to be bringing in, and that is just insane. That's going to give you a massive amount of sustain, and it really did kind of carry me through my first few elite runs, especially when I was a little bit under leveled. So you can use this in something like LMG builds, so that if you're going to be a stationary target, you just keep refreshing your armor over and over again. You can use this in a variety of assault rifle and SMG builds. You can even use this in a knockback, just to be able to keep yourself healthy, keep yourself alive, until you find some other mods that kind of help you out, or maybe you've managed to level up a little bit more in your power so that you can actually combat with those enemies and you can take a couple of hits rather than having to rely on something like armor transfer to keep you in the fight. Overall, armor transfer goes into the mod 4 slot. We have seen this and we have suggested it on a couple of builds of ours, but armor transfer is your go-to. If you don't need anything like any more DPS increases or to rely on something specific, you can always go for armor transfer, and that is just going to help you out in some of those runs. So I would always recommend being able to consider armor transfer in every single build of mine, unless I need a little bit of extra DPS, unless I'm looking for something a little bit more specific, but that's the reason why it has to take the number 5 spot for me. Coming in at that number 4 spot, though, we do have something that's going to be a little bit more going to help us out in general. Rather than just purely looking at defense, we're actually looking at being able to take down all the threats that are in front of us, and something that is just going to happen generically, something that we don't have to worry too much about. It's just going to proc by itself, and it's really going to help us out with that DPS. This is going to be in the critical damage category, and this can be found as the All-1-2. Now, you will have seen that we have used this several times when it comes to our builds, because this goes into your mod 2 slot. It is absolutely amazing, and all you need to be able to do is land a critical hit, and once you've landed that, you get an extra 20% gun damage, which is going to filter into your standard shots, it's going to filter into your weak points, it's going to filter into your additional criticals that you're going to be landing after that, and it has an insane duration of 15 seconds, meaning that within those 15 seconds, all you need to do is land another critical hit, and all of a sudden you've refreshed that. This is just a really generic, really nice extra boost to your gun, and it really does get compounded if you do manage to go a little bit more into weak point damage, or if you go a little bit more into critical damage. The All-1-2 just really helps everything, and it just does a really nice job at that. And like I said, you don't have to jump through any hoops, you don't have to activate any skills, you don't have to worry about being low health, you don't have to worry about any where your armor is or anything like that. You're just aiming at a target and you're getting an extra gun damage boost. Granted, it is on a percentage chance, but because of how many bullets you will be firing, it's pretty much going to be guaranteed as soon as you start blasting away anyway, so getting that extra 20% is really, really nice and really, really helpful. Now we're breaking into the top 3, and once again we're going to be looking into something that's going to be a little bit more DPS focused, and this one does go hand in hand with something like armor transfer, because you have to choose between that and what this one's going to be. This one's going to be in the skill category, and this one is going to be skill thrill, where skill thrill right here deal additional weapon damage. This is base weapon damage as well with your primary weapon after you use your skill, and this is a 50% gun damage bonus, and not only that, it also has a duration of 30 seconds seconds. That is a huge duration increase, which is really, really nice to have. It means that you do have a little bit of downtime between when your skill comes back. But if you do manage to combine this with other things that are in skill, like for example, we have making lemonade, which gives us ways to reduce our cooldown when it comes to our skill. And we also have charge wave, which is also going to give our skill cooldown a nice 20% flat. And we also get something in the codex that also reduces our skill cooldown as well. Skill throw can have a way of being able to have 100% uptime, and that is a huge 50% just from being able to activate your skill. Now obviously this is more specific on offensive kind of characters. You're not necessarily going to use this too much if you're playing Doc, for example, because you kind of want to keep your ability back in case you never need to be able to use for healing, or in case you need to be able to pick up a runner in co-op. But skill thrill, if you use it on any other class, is absolutely amazing, and it is just the best way of being able to increase your base DPS before we go into weak points and be able to go into criticals, and that is why it has to take that number 3 spot, because it is just so useful. So we're into the top 2, and it was very close with this one. In terms of like what I was trying to go for, I just feel like the number 1 has seen a little bit more widespread use compared to number 2, but don't be put off by any of that. Number 2 is still very useful, and because they both take up different mod slots, you can actually use both in combination with each other. So when it comes to the number 2 slot, I am going to go for the explosives category, and I'm going to suggest that it's Parting Gift. Parting Gift is one of those mods that you get really early on in your game, especially within like when you first start Master Ops. You're able to get these ridiculously early on, especially in exchange machines, and it looks a little bit kind of conspicuous. It doesn't initially strike you as being an amazing mod until you start getting into those areas where you have a lot of nanos just kind of charging you down, and then Parting Gift just kind of comes into its own. What this does is that nanos killed with bullets will drop explosives, and this does have an explosion radius of 8 meters, and also increases all of your explosive damage by 50%. Now this does have several applications in the match, mainly because if you're able to take down a bunch of weak nanos, so like standard pack nanos, this will help you soften up the rest of the pack. This may even strip off armor, but it also helps you out to being able to soften up things like primes. It also helps you being able to take down things like tyrants. The Reviver Tyrant, for example, when it summons all those pack nanos, if you manage to kill all the normal adds ridiculously fast, you're going to be dropping a bunch of Parting Gifts all around them, and they will take a chunk of damage, which will help you to be able to take them down a little bit faster. Parting Gift also has a really nice extra effect right there, because it also increases your explosive damage by 50%, which if you're using something like the Supernova as your main gun, that already deals explosive damage, and being able to equip the Parting Gift will also increase the amount of damage that gun will do as base, because they're both increasing your explosive damage, and your gun is already doing that. So therefore that is a nice 50% damage increase, and the Supernova is widely received as one of the nicer legendary weapons that you can take in. If you're lucky enough to be able to grab a couple of these and you start going around, it's one of the best mobbing weapons that does exist in this game right now, and it does also help you out with being able to go into knockback builds, because every single time the shockwave from something like the Crescendo, that is treated as bullets, so therefore once you kill enemies with that, they will then drop the Parting Gifts. It's really nice. It just kind of synergizes with pretty much most of it, or if not all of the legendary weapons that exist in this game right now, and overall Parting Gift is absolutely solid and definitely deserves that number 2 spot. Now before we go into number 1 though, I will give an honourable mention, and that is going to be a whole category of mods, and the reason why is because I couldn't decide between one specific one to be able to make the list of top 5. They all kind of have to work together, and that's the reason why I couldn't put like a whole group in this. I was trying to look at specific mods, but if you do combine all of these together, this can be a really effective way of being able to increase your DPS. So the honourable mention has to go to the energy rounds category, which is going to cover Armor Breaker, it's going to cover energy round Affliction, and it's also going to cover every energy round shock. The reason why is because the extra bonus that you get from these being that yellow rarity is just too good, and you kind of do need all 3 of them to kind of make the most out of energy rounds to really help you out. Now obviously not every single build is going to use energy rounds, like for example Crescendo builds and Knockback, they're going to be primarily hip firing, so they're not really going to get any extra benefit from energy rounds, but everything else, like the things that you're going to be requiring you to be aiming over your shoulder or aiming down sights, you're really going to want to have energy rounds if you can get them out of the exchange mod. Something like Pocket Rocket Park, for example, can make the most out of energy rounds as well, because they are treated as energy damage, and if you use the pocket rocket, you're also increasing the amount of damage that this mod will be dealing. So we have Armor Breaker, which is going to have a chance, it's only 40% being able to break nano armor, but the real reason we go for it is to increase the energy round size all the way up to 200%, which is really, really nice. We also grab Energy Round Deflection, because this increases the amount of distance the energy round can travel before it dissipates, and it does no damage, so we do kind of need that as well, because it does feel relatively short, especially if you're using an LMG. And lastly, we have Energy Round Shock, which is going to apply Shock Affliction, which helps with doing a little bit of damage and everything like that, but it also increases our charging speed, and that goes up to 40%, and that allows us to have that more consistent damage output. We're going to be churning energy rounds out pretty much left, right, and center. It just increases the amount of DPS that this is going to be doing. Overall, absolutely love energy rounds in this game. It's definitely a very welcome addition to being able to increase our DPS, but it's not for every build, and I just don't think, like I said, you have to have all three of these to really maximize the most out of it, rather than specifically saying this is the one that you need. So that brings us to my number one pick, and it shouldn't really be too much of a surprise, because a lot of the top builds right now are pretty much running it. It helps us with being able to take down pack nanos, it helps us to be able to take down prime nanos, helps us to take down pretty much anything apart from tyrant, but it is an absolutely insane mod to be able to use, and just overall, it's just one of the best that kind of exists in this game. What this is going to be is found in the stun category. This is going to be stun and gun, where you one-hit kills on stun nanos with low health. This low health threshold at a yellow is 35%. If you do have the red rarity, it does go all the way up to 40%, and it also increases the duration of your stun. So at yellow this is 1 second, and at red this is 2. The reason why stun and gun is so good is because the damage reduction that prime nanos get once they get knocked down is kind of insane. It means that you're going to be taking a lot of bullets. It makes more sense to either send your nano or to send yourself over there to execute them, but then that puts you out of the fight, that stops the amount of DPS you're going to be doing, especially with your gun, for example, and it does leave you a little bit vulnerable in case other enemies are going to start attacking you while you're stuck in that animation. The reason why stun and gun is so good, though, is because we're able to instantly delete any single nano that hits that threshold, and it doesn't have to be something like a critical hit, it doesn't have to be a weak point kill, it is literally any form of damage. Once they hit that threshold, and as long as they're stunned, they will then instantly get deleted. The reason why this works so well with Parting Gift is because Parting Gift has such a huge radius, so once you've managed to stun enemies and then you activate all these parting gifts from other things, you can trigger a chain reaction by instantly detonating and absolutely just deleting every single prime nano once they hit that low health threshold. And because you're going to be passing on the stun as standard, like for example with Ragnar or something like that, or weak point stun, you can then start like absolutely just decimating pretty much mobs. This is one of the better strategies that does exist in Endless, and there's a reason why people do go for stun builds alongside something like a knockback build to really kind of maximize that. But anyway, that pretty much wraps it up on my video. Is my top 5 builds and one single honourable mention as to what I think are the best mods that exist in this game. Let me know in the comment section down below, do you think I've got it right? What would you actually put it in? And let me know your order specifically down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this type of video and you want to see more, then make sure to drop in a like and subscribe so you can find your way back to the channel. But with all that said and done, that just leaves me to say, keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on the next video.